Okay, everybody, this is Pete Hansen from Pete Hansen Football, and I am in Milford, New Hampshire today with recently retired coach Keith Jones. And we joke a little bit about that because he mentioned he's still young and he might still have a little left in the tank. So we'll talk a little bit about that as part of this today. But we're going to talk a little bit about his background, his journey into coaching football, some of his thoughts about culture, foundations, building a program. He spent quite a bit of time here at Milford, so we're really excited to hear about his journey here and his thoughts about, you know, what would he tell a young guy coming into his freshman year in high school, like things that he would be looking for as a coach. And also for some of you younger guys that might be looking to get into coaching yourself, maybe he can give you some feedback on things you might want to consider as you get into that. And then we'll talk a little bit about his legacy at the end. So I hope you enjoy the ride, and let's get started. So, Coach, welcome. Thanks for spending some time with me. I know it's a little bit hot out here today. I think we're in the low 90s.
Yeah, it only feels like 105.
yeah. It's not a dry heat. It's really humid. But we're going to find some shade here, folks. But tell us a little bit about, you know, where you were born, where you grew up. Where did the sort of love of football start for you?
Well, I grew up in Pepperell, Massachusetts. God, I was watching North Middlesex Patriot football when I was a little kid. I have a brother 6 years older than me.
Yep.
So okay. I grew up watching him play.
Yep.
In my town, it was kind of like what you looked forward to is playing for Sandy Ruggles.
Okay.
At North Middlesex.
He was the coach? Okay, long-time coach there, I take it?
Yeah, long-time coach. Was a tough program when he took it over, so
okay.
It built and came pretty good and got to the point where they went to like 9 out of 10 Superbowls in a row. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now, how big is Middlesex for people that don't know, comparing it to like New Hampshire football?
It's probably like an old, small Class L school.
Okay.
1,100, 1,200 kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Type thing. It's a regional school.
Yep.
Pepperell, Townsend, Ashby.
So it's
not very big.
Yeah. But big for New Hampshire numbers, but not big in Massachusetts.
No.
So, but let's talk a little bit about that, because that's going to Superbowls. I mean, that's like the creme de la creme, right?
Yeah, I was very lucky.
You get to play in Foxborough.
I got to play in 3.
Oh, you did?
I'm old. Back then.
Yeah, let's go up a little bit.
Back then, we played at WPI.
Oh, okay.
For Central Mass.
That was turf?
It was turf.
They had one of the first turf fields in the country, right?
Maybe.
I thought that WPI, the engineers there, invented it, but
I don't know. Good possibility.
We'll have to ask people to Google it.
I felt like it was my home field after a while.
Yeah, so fascinating. So you played in 3 Super Bowls, Massachusetts Super Bowls.
Yep.
So what was that like?
Unbelievable. I mean, I was very lucky. Besides Sandy Ruggles, the group of guys that coached there was second to none.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird there. Most of them were from Stoneham, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And that's where Sandy was from. And then his top assistant was a guy named John Margarita.
Margarita, okay.
Who ended up being my mentor.
Okay.
And he was the assistant head coach when I was a kid.
Yep.
And he's the one that kind of put me on my way and taught me everything I know. And another guy named John Jamieson.
Okay.
Who my second son is actually named after.
Oh, okay.
His name's John Dan Jamieson.
So
and my son's name
pretty
is Jamieson,
big impact.
Dan Jones.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, those, and then Russ Woolacott and Steve Hibbard, and obviously Coach Ruggles, another guy named Mike Parent. I was very lucky to grow up with those guys. They did it a different way.
Yeah.
So I think than what most people see as a football coach.
Yeah.
Not telling you that it was the 80s. So there was yelling, there was screaming. It was rough. It was tough.
There was some face masks getting grabbed by the coaches.
It might have happened to me once or twice. But there was no swearing. There was no belittling.
Yeah.
We got coached hard.
Yep.
You never walked
away. It's very disciplined, right?
It was.
Eye contact with the coaches.
But you never walked away not knowing why they were making their point.
Right.
As hard as their point might have been sometimes.
Right.
You know, and then my first coaching job coming back when I was like 22 was with Coach Margarita. He had became the head coach.
Oh, okay.
Coach Ruggles had taken off to go to ULOL.
Okay.
And Coach Margarita stayed, and I ended up going to coach freshman football for him.
How old were you then?
22.
22. Okay.
Yeah.
So did you go on anywhere beyond high school level in football, or did you?
I played at Framingham State.
Yep. Okay.
For 1.5 seasons.
Okay.
Sadly, my second season, right after we played our first scrimmage against Dean Junior College,
Yep.
I got really ill. I thought I broke something. I turned the color of the sweatshirt.
Really?
All over, and they found out I had a blood disease I didn't know I had.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had this thing called idiopathic thrombocytic pneumonia, which basically means your white blood cells try to kill you and they don't know why.
And it just came on quickly?
Just out of the blue.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, right in the middle of playing college football. So I had to stop, and then I mowed it around a little bit. It kind of hurt me that I couldn't play anymore.
Yep.
I stayed there, and then I tried to give it a last hurrah. I went back.
Yep.
Like 4 years later, they let me.
Okay, because you still had eligibility.
Well, right? Yeah, and the doctor kind of agreed to give me a shot at it. Didn't think it was a good idea.
So you're saying there's a chance I can play?
But I went to camp.
You take it, right?
I went to camp, and it was weird. I didn't know any of the guys on the team anymore.
Yeah.
And
feel.
while I was there, Coach Margarita had given me a call. Hey, what do you think about coaching freshman football? And I'm like, okay. I'm at college camp right now, Coach.
Yeah.
Oh, you staying? I'm like, I don't know.
Good question.
So I ended up taking off.
Did you? Yeah.
Commuted back and forth to school that year.
Yep. Okay.
And coached high school football.
Wow. Okay. So that's a different pathway.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah.
So had you been thinking about coaching though prior to that? Like, was it somewhere along your high school years where you're like, hey, I want to do this?
I was going to be a coach.
You did?
I loved it.
Good.
I loved it. One of the good things was Coach Ruggles and a guy named Walt Dubzinski. They ran this like instructional camp.
Yep.
That I went to when I was a kid, and they let me start coaching at it right after I graduated. I would go and coach the camp and work with the young linemen.
Yeah.
And
so you got
I was in love with it already.
You got the bug right there,
Yeah.
and was like, I can see myself doing this, and well, that's really cool because it's interesting because I think sometimes guys don't realize it until maybe a coach like yours reached out to you and said, hey, what do you think about coaching freshmen? And then there's other guys that very early on, like I think a Jimmy Lozon from Londonderry, who I interviewed a couple weeks ago.
My boy.
He knew he was young. His dad was a coach, and he had notebooks, and he was like designing plays.
We always knew that guy. We always knew that kid was going to be a coach.
Yeah, so
I love him to death.
That's fascinating, and he's one of those guys too that Bob Cameron mentioned to me. You got to talk to Jimmy. If I was talking to current coaches, I told him at some point I wanted to talk to current coaches as part of this project, and he said, "Yeah, talk to Jimmy. He does it the right way. He gets it." And when I talked to him, it was pretty fascinating, his approach to it and everything. But so how did you cross paths with him? Was it just through coaching?
Jimmy played for West.
Yep.
And Travis Cody, who was the head coach way back when Jimmy was playing, good friend of mine.
Oh, okay.
And, we used to scrimmage every year.
Yeah.
So Jimmy played against me as the quarterback.
Okay. Yeah.
And then after, everything, and then just being around the same people and chewing the same dirt. And
you guys cross paths all the time
all the
during, probably sevens and everything else. Like, tomorrow I'll be back over this way. We do sevens with Salhegan because I help out at Pembroke Academy. And it's just fascinating, all the networks and connections. Yeah. So you started coaching freshmen?
Yeah, so I went and coached with Coach Margarita and Coach Jamieson. He and I coached freshman football together.
Yeah.
And what just a learning experience. This knowledge from these people that probably have forgotten more than I'll ever know about the game. But more importantly, it wasn't even the game. It was what they knew about kids.
Yeah.
And that's what, if I had to say anything, shaped me the way I ended up being was those guys teaching me that everything about football had nothing to do with football.
Yeah. Okay. So you were saying.
Yeah, I got to coach freshman
It's more
football.
about the player.
I got a crash course in basically the psychology of coaching.
Yeah.
And how to deal with kids and how to treat them and how it was important for some kids to just be on the team.
Yeah.
Didn't matter if they were good at football or not. And just being part of something could change their lives. And then later on, who knows? They might become major contributors. If they stick around, because they're part of something.
Because they develop so much in that 9th through 12th grade, right? They're a totally different kid.
It's so much more like, all kids get bigger and stronger as they get older, but there's certain kids that they don't find it until they make friends and they're part of something. Otherwise they're always on the outside looking in. Once they get in, they can just
then they blossom, right? And I'm glad that you say that, because I was reading one of the articles about you before we came here today, and you had said that it's not really about the X's and O's and wins and losses. It's about how these guys, like, you'll know your success years from now when you see them when they're in their 20s, 30s, and you say, hey, I had some impact on that kid. Hopefully he's the man he is today because some of the stuff we did in football.
And I've been saying that for years, and sometimes I always wonder, like, if people really listen to me when I say that I could care less about the wins and the losses. But I love it when I get invited to their weddings or their christenings, or their family parties, all these different things. And there's so many of these guys that I still hang out with on a regular basis now. And and I was so young when I came here, especially. And a lot of the kids that were from North Middlesex when I was 22, they were only 4 years younger than me. So
so you probably knew them pretty well off the field.
But some of them I still hang out with, and a lot of the kids from Milford, the early years, like one of them, John DeMarco, he's like my hunting partner.
Okay.
So we do a lot together all the time. A lot of them coached for me. Over the years, Jared Russell and Joe King and Miralem Mulabegovic, who's still on the staff. I mean, all these guys, they come back. And I love that. That tells me that we did a good job. If they want to be around us, we couldn't have been that bad.
Right. And that's a good point too. But you did have success here too.
Well,
so you had a state championship early on, and then more winning seasons and losing seasons and all that. But you were here. So wait, so you started as a freshman coach, but let's get into how did you move on?
I was with Coach Margarita for 4 seasons. He decided that he wanted to be done there. So he resigned. I was a young kid, just about 26. I didn't want to leave. It was my home. I lived there. I was working in the school. I was running the in-school suspension program. I applied for the job. I made it to the final round of interviews. I came out against this guy. Actually, I always laugh because Howard Sobolov, I don't know if you know Howard. He was the Alvern AD, Londonderry AD coach and stuff. We sat out in the lobby together because he was interviewing for the same job way back when in 1999, 1999, 2000. And anyway, so I made it to the final round. And they told me they felt like they couldn't hire me because I was too young, which I knew. I was too young. But if they didn't have anybody else, I didn't want to leave.
Right.
They told me I was too young, and then they told me they were hiring a guy 1 year older than me. And I said, so what you're really saying is I'm too young and you don't want me.
You don't want me.
So you hired a guy with 1 year older than me, with the only experience he had more than I did was he coached at Fitchburg State, which at that time, I think they had like the longest losing streak in the history of college football. Anyway, but so it wasn't that, and he wasn't even an educator. Nice guy, he was a fireman. But so they said, you want to stay as an assistant? And I was like, no, this was kind of a little bit writing on the wall. Message. You don't want me, you don't want me. So Coach Parent, who was one of the assistants, he had a friend, his name was, his last name was McGuire. I can't remember his first name. But he had gotten the head coaching job here for the fall of 2000.
At Milford.
And he got my name from Coach Parent and asked me if I would want to come with him. He's like, why don't you come with me since you're a man without a country now? And I said, okay, what are we going to do? And he said, you run the defense, I'll run the offense, and we'll kind of be like co-head coaches. He was a young guy, too. He was only a couple years older than me. And I was like, well, me and Coach Jamieson drove up here, drove around the town, saw how similar it was to where I grew up. Like this blue collar, tough feeling. We loved it. And I said, you know what? What the heck?
Let's do it.
So I agreed. And then, so this guy McGuire, he's bringing me in. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he tells me he can't take the job.
Oh.
You know, for undisclosed
So he
reasons.
can't. Okay.
I think it had to do something with he was supposed to be getting a job at the middle school,
and then maybe
they didn't get the job.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
then he needed to go somewhere, and I think he ended up in like Sandwich, Massachusetts,
Oh,
which
okay.
that would have been a pretty long commute
Yeah.
for a coaching job.
Yep.
Anyway,
And you had already committed.
and I
working
committed. I had a
here.
job here in special ed. So I called the AD, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you know this yet, but your head coach is not taking the job. And he was like, what? So he hadn't even told him yet. So I'm like, I know you don't really know me, but I want the job if possible. I think I can do it, and blah, blah, blah. So he says, all right, let me get back to you. So he calls me back. He's the interview committee felt like we have to offer it to the second runner, the first runner-up for the thing, the second guy. And I said, all right, well, who's that guy? And he's like, his name's Derek Pioli. And I said, Pioli? And he goes, I go, relation to Scott Pioli? Patriots? He goes, it's his brother.
Oh,
I said,
really?
Oh, okay. So I meet this guy. His name's Derek. He's a great guy.
Yep.
Very weird introduction to New Hampshire high school football, though. Being a Mass guy.
Yeah.
I come up here to meet this guy because he's now going to be the head coach, and I'm like, I don't know him from a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And I always love telling this story. He answers the door at his house. I'm in a suit. I'm in a Armani suit. Okay. And pinstripes.
Like dressed for the nine.
Typical Sicilian. I got the 9. I mean, I'm going to I feel like I'm going to a job interview. This is what I've been taught to do.
Yeah.
He's got tighty whities on. That's it. He's a bald guy, and no hair on him, and he's just, hey, how you doing? I was kind of frightened. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't get frightened very easily. I was a little frightened, and come on in. And I stood there for a few seconds thinking, do I really want to walk into this house right now? And I said to him, not for nothing, before I come in, is there a reason why you're naked? And he goes, oh yeah, my son just puked all over me and I had to take my clothes off. I'm like, all right, now we're getting some kind of explanation here why this guy's in his underwear, which I'm okay.
Right.
So anyway, we go in.
First impressions.
I got all my stuff with me, my playbook, and all these things, defensive things, all these ideas I have. And I start to talk to him, and he goes, stop. I go, oh, sorry, what's the matter? He goes, you're going to have to run the offense and the defense. He goes, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, really?
He goes, I never coached before. I said, what are you talking about? He goes, I played college football at WestCon, but I never coached before. He goes, last year I was riding my bike by the field, and I asked the guy that was coaching if he needed help. He said, come on down. I never turn away a volunteer. So he volunteered the previous year for half a season. That was his introduction to coaching high school football.
Wow.
So I'm like, he's like,
and then he interviewed for the job. And
he's a town guy, good guy, football family. But he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, great. All right. Well, I go, I could do that. I mean, that's fine. I go, you can be the guy. And
the face
he was a great,
whatever.
Great motivator, fun guy. Kids loved him.
Good.
Couldn't say enough about him. He was just a good person. But he did. He just said, here's the keys. The only thing he said to me at the time was, we got to run the power I. I'm like, okay, why do we have to run the power I?
Yeah.
My brother said that's a good high school offense. I'm like, well, it's a great one if you're the New York Giants in the 19, and you got studs that are gonna mow down everybody. I go, whatever. If that's not negotiable, then we'll run the power I.
Yeah.
So basically, I ran the wishbone, but out of the power I formation.
Yep.
For that first year. That year I got here, and there was a gentleman that became our booster club president that was a mover and a shaker. His name was Eddie Boehm, and he was John DeMarco's father, and he was the one who kind of really helped us get this place going. He put these lights in.
Okay.
He put up the money, and then got it back eventually. But he did this. When I first showed up, I had people out here digging sonnet holes by hand. I mean, the people that were pouring out of the woodwork to help this program.
Yep.
It was unbelievable.
So the community jumped on board.
It was. And Eddie Boehm spearheaded
okay, we got some momentum going here.
Yep, and it was just a great thing. And, because Friday Night Lights, it's a big deal, you know? They told me that, Saturday games here were close friends, blood relatives, maybe 100 people.
Yeah.
And the first night I coached here, I happened to be in the booth back that year. There had to be 2,000 people here.
Yep.
And we played Franklin High School.
Franklin, yeah.
And we hung on to win 14-6.
Okay.
In a great game.
Yeah.
And they were a struggling program too. So it was a great way for us to kick off the year. And that year we ended up 4-4.
So was that when Milford drop down to Division 4 for a little bit?
I think they had already been there.
Yep. Okay.
I think that previous to that year, though, they had only won like maybe 3 games in the last 4 years.
Yep.
They were pretty bad.
Yeah, there's something about the Friday night lights thing, right? Like, because at Pembroke, we don't have the lights either.
Right.
And I think at one year, Coach Mower actually got generators and brought in some lights to try it. And you know, I think the kids love playing on Friday nights. It's right after school.
Atmosphere.
It's like everybody's just getting out of work, going to the game.
Yeah.
And it's cooler.
Right.
Temperature-wise, it's nice. Yeah, that's a good deal.
So that year, I started with 26 kids.
Wow.
And we ended the season with close to 40.
Really? So guys just came out during the year saying, hey, I want to be part of this.
I was in the school beating the bushes in the cafeteria and, you know, getting them out.
Active recruiting,
and then, you know, and that year was great. We worked hard. At one point, it was kind of funny. I never told this story to anybody before. I'll tell you.
All right. Well, you're going to tell it to everybody.
Well, middle of the season, they tried to get rid of me.
Oh,
the other assistant coaches that they didn't like me.
Really?
They said I was too controlling.
Okay.
And they had a little meeting.
They had Massachusetts old school for them?
They had a private meeting to get rid of me.
Oh, really?
And one of the guys on the staff called me on the phone and said, you might want to get down here.
Hey.
There's a group of guys trying to get rid of you. Yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you're too controlling and they don't feel like they're involved. And I said, well, that's because they don't do any work and they're not involved. And
right.
You know, I'm the one doing all the stuff. And I was a little pissed at Derek for even entertaining this little meeting.
Yeah.
So I came down into the room and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I let them all voice their opinions. And I said, well, there's only one guy in this room that comes scouting with me, meets me at my house on Sundays to do game plans.
Yeah.
And helps me do all the stuff. And he happens to be the one that called me to tell me this was going on.
Right.
I go, no offense to you, but where are the rest of you guys when all the work has to be done?
Because that's an interesting thing, right? Yes.
You know,
because that's what I've talked to these other coaches about too. Is, you know, a lot of the younger guys, not all of them, right? But some come into it thinking they're just going to be, I'm almost like offensive coordinator, D coordinator, year one. I don't have to do anything, and. But you got to.
I was good at Madden.
Earning your keep, but you got to dedicate time. Like you got to be.
Some of them think they were good at Madden, so they can they call the plays. You know, but you know, I mean, it's
a labor of love, right?
So a little turmoil that first year.
Yeah.
But then after the season was over, and you know, things were well, and kids were wanting to play, and I went to the AD, and I basically just kind of told them like, you know, I know I'm young, but I'll stay another year because I love the kids.
Yeah.
But I got to be the head coach.
Okay.
And
was the current head coach kind of wishy-washy too? Was he just?
I think he wanted to continue to be the head coach, but you know, Derek's a good guy and he was smart. He probably saw the writing on the wall. I mean, I was killing myself, you know, and he didn't want to do the scouting, and he had a baby, and you know, like he was
maybe different season of life, whatever.
I think we parted ways amicably.
Okay. Yep.
You know, the AD decided that I was the guy.
Yep.
And that was it.
Good.
20.
Yeah. So I read that too. 1 year turned into 23-4. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I had an idea that you know, I was going to come here for that 1 year, and then I was going to go down and try to coach at like St. Peter Marian, or so. I had some friends at different places, and
go back home.
Yeah. You know, something like that. And then, but then, one of the great things that happened to me is I was became the head coach, and that very first year when I was the assistant, Coach Margarita, Coach Jamieson, Coach Woolacott, they were coming up to all the games. They were showing up at my practices. They were helping out all the time.
Oh, okay.
You know? And then next year, Coach Jamieson, I took the kids away to football camp. They had never done that before, like you did with Coach Gaddy, I'm sure. And we went to
that's right.
We went to Waikasuta the first year, which is on Newfound. We ended up going to Mitina a bunch of times with Pembroke. Back when Pembroke, they
used
went to
go
camp.
too. Yeah.
Anyway, while we were at Waikasuta, I know. Well, it's insurance and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a little more dangerous than it used to be. But Milford still goes, so he can still go. Anyway, Coach Jamieson came up to watch practice at camp, and I called him over, introduced him, and I introduced him as the new assistant coach.
Pulled a fast one on him.
And he kept coming back.
Yeah, good.
And he kept coming back. So I had another guy, which was great. And then
So was that your sort of philosophy or vision, was like, I got to get some guys around me that buy into what we're doing?
Oh, yeah.
And be dedicated.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, my whole career was based on having people that were better than me, smarter than me, that were going to stay with me for a long time. Coach Jamieson the first year, then Coach Margarita came after that.
Yeah.
And then, I hired a young guy named Steve Martin, who's still with the program, who was a Milford kid that played at Girton.
Oh, okay.
Eventually Rick Erta, who was head coach at Merrimack, and then his kids all were my quarterbacks. He's been with me for years. And so I think the one great thing for my 23 years was that I had the same people for the most part. A couple interchangeable. Either kids coming back.
Some comeback guys.
And I always loved hiring guys that had never coached before. It was great when my mentors came, because they could we were thinking the same way and we were doing the same thing, and I didn't have to coach them. They had to. They were still coaching me probably. But I didn't have to teach them. But these young guys that had never coached, they only knew one way, the Milford way.
Right.
So I didn't have to.
So you didn't have to break any old habits and stuff like that, and you just start from scratch with them, instill the values, principles you want to go by.
Yep, and the things that I learned from the other guys about keeping people involved. One of the things we always did was, I had we called it a coaches meeting, but it was really a coaches gathering every Thursday after practice.
Yeah.
We'd get together. Kind of talk about football, but it was mostly having some beers and hanging out. And then after
the relationship stuff, right?
And then after every single game, we have a family cookout.
Oh,
everybody's invited. We stay up till the wee hours of the morning.
All the coaches?
Everybody. Coaches, wives, kids. We pick somebody's house. Coach Erta became the kind of like the resident coaches party guy. A nice spot in town, and the grill master.
Right.
So, and it's funny because it just... It built this continuity amongst us that we didn't just hang out during football season. We hang out all year. It
becomes more of a family, and the trust level gets really high. And that once you have a high level of trust, you can get a lot of stuff done because you're not second guessing guys. You're not wondering, does he have a different agenda? And so we
were together. We vacation together. So, we do all these things together.
So were there any big changes when you became the head coach from when you were an assistant? Did you? I assume you went away from the power eye.
I'll be honest with you. I have a philosophy of a system. We've always built what we call the hybrid offense, which is a cross between like the wishbone and the wing T.
Oh, okay.
But I am one that I will line up in any formation whatsoever if I think that's what's going to move the ball. We're not going to change the offense. People sometimes think we did because we changed the alignment.
So, you might change the alignment, have split out, but you're still.
We were always a power option football team.
Trap
with some wing T principles built in to break some. I always felt like the beautiful part about the wing T with the wishbone was it broke keys.
Okay.
So a lot of the wishbone keys were always like wherever the quarterback opened, the ball was going. Well, the opposite with the wing T, right? Wherever the quarterback opened, obviously, usually the ball's going the opposite direction.
You got to read the guards more.
So we were doing both. So I think we caused some people some issues with a lot of that.
Because
unbalanced
a young
football.
16, 17-year-old linebacker is trying to wait. What do I do?
So we like to we call it a lot of smoke and mirrors. So we would do anything. So I really said, with the times we lined up in the power eye, there was one time out here in 2009 that we lined up in the same formation on balance in the power eye for 49 plays in a row, and we ran 2 plays the entire game, right in the middle of the field.
And won. Controlled the ball.
We beat a team that was 10 times better than us, and they never had the ball.
Sometimes, and sometimes coaches don't see that, right? Those fundamentals of, hey, if you're grinding it out, you're also grinding the clock down to almost nothing. If the other team only gets the ball once a quarter, because you've had it for 8 to 10 minutes, you're going to win most of your games.
Well, that's why, I always say, there are, some great spread teams that have, been in the finals, Bedford's right now and stuff like that. But consistently in the state of New Hampshire, who's always in there at the end? Exeter. Pinkerton. Teams that they
so you made some changes.
Yeah, we made changes. I mean, we kind of always ran on the smoke and mirrors type, concept. The one thing about the community is we had hard-nosed, blue-collar kids that would fight for you tooth and nail and scrape, scratch, crawl until it was over. But very rarely did we ever have like the X factor. We didn't have
a really stellar athlete who can carry a team on his
back. We had a few. I'm not gonna lie to you. We had a few over the years, but not on a regular basis. And so we always had to, whatever we created, it was based on having 4 solid running back positions that were all going to contribute and try to play as many kids as we can.
And make the defense defend all 4.
Right.
Throw in a little deception, and now you got something, right? Yeah.
So
that's
we
good.
made a living on that, and playing
that-
a lot of unbalanced football and
Yep.
being very aggressive on defense. One thing we always
Yeah.
believed here was if you're too weak to defend, you must attack.
Yeah.
A little Robert E. Lee
Yep.
action.
Right.
So we always
Yeah, so
we
you gotta
always
take it
played
to
the
'em.
bear and played man to man, and
Yep.
9 in the box, and
Yeah.
came like hell and had a lot of fun.
So did that evolve over the years too? Did the athletes change at all? Because you had 2 decades of
I mean certain little spot like little snowballs, I call them, like, were different. I mean there was a couple years where, God, our smallest lineman was 265.
Oh wow.
We had some enormous
big
human
up front.
beings, and they were all like 6'5".
Yep.
And they were all huge, and we could just
Run over.
go forward and do some great
Yep.
things. And then there was years where we had 175 pound
Yep.
tough as nails
Yep.
kids that just got off the ball and
Yeah.
pulled and trapped and got out on the edge and
Yep.
would come right after
And
you
can double
had
team
no fear
really well. And yeah.
so it all changed. We had we had a couple, like, I always say it's my lost years. I'd lose my mind a little bit. Like one year I had a kid who could really throw it.
Yep.
So we were in the shotgun, and we were still running, option football, but we
Yep.
were throwing it
From
more
the
than
gun
I had ever done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we went through that for about 4 years,
Yep.
and then we went to there was a couple years where we just didn't have anybody who could run the option.
Yeah.
So it was just like people thought we were running the option.
But it was
it was the wing
predetermined.
tee, and it was and the stuff that looked like the option was
Yep.
predetermined.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because that's good, right? You had to adapt to the athletes you have, and I think sometimes coaches are a little slow to do that, and maybe get a little stubborn. And because Coach Gaddy at Concord, we ran a straight tee, and it was predetermined every play, but it was 3 fakes every play, so the defense had to respect that. But it was grinded out football, like you said.
I got to tell you, I missed you. But I scrimmaged, when I was a kid, I scrimmaged Concord High School.
Yeah, right.
I want to say it was 1990. We were on our way back from camp.
A couple years after
we stopped at Concord, and the very first play, everybody tackled the fullback, and we were all like, and the halfback, was running down the field.
Yeah.
Nobody knew he had the ball. We had no idea,
That
because
would
we had never seen it before.
A few times a game. It was, and Coach Gaddy was one of the first guys to bring it to New Hampshire from Michigan.
Yeah.
And that was a great story. Him
Bay
telling me
City
that.
T.
The Bay City, and in fact, one of our pass plays, which were rare, right, was called 40 Michigan. And,
Michigan pass,
Yeah, the Michigan pass.
Yeah.
And but it worked, right? Because we had some good athletes, but we had a lot of grinder out guys and not a lot of big size. But he took it to the state championship 3 years in a row. We won 2 out of 3, but that goes back to knowing what you have.
Yeah.
And again, going back to the kids, right? Because you want them to be successful, and maybe you have to change little things because you can do what you want to do and end up 1-7, 1-8,
Right.
or you can, hey, I got to modify this, adapt it to the kids, and we might go 4-4. We'll get a little bit better, and maybe we'll have a winning season.
I think that's one
give
thing
them a
that
better
we
experience.
always did well here.
Yep.
We never ever tried to put the square peg in the round hole.
Yeah.
I never had that ego of, well, no, this is what I do and this is what I'm going to do. We have always adapted everything we do to what we have for kids to make them successful. And I certainly think that's probably why we won a lot more than we lost. Is we would steal games
And
by putting kids in good positions.
Yeah. And did your size of your teams get bigger over the years? I mean, guys coming out?
We
were averaging
we were very
50,
lucky.
50 plus? Or?
We were very lucky. God, it was such a quick success story. Like I told you, that first year I was an assistant, we were 4-4. My first year as the head coach, we ended up 5-4.
Okay. So now you got a winning season.
The next year we were in the state championship.
Yeah.
We lost to Hanover.
Oh, okay.
After we both met at 8-0 in the final game of the regular season.
And then played them again. And
they beat us by 1 at Hanover.
Yep.
And then 2 weeks later, after we beat St. Thomas and I think they beat Bow, we met again in the finals and they beat us 14-0.
Yeah.
But then the next year, we were back in it again and we beat Monadnock to win it.
Yep, to win the state championship.
Then the very next year, we moved up a division. We were in it again.
Okay,
and we
lost,
Division 3,
yep.
We lost to Sauhegan.
Oh,
in the finals.
Sauhegan was in 3 then.
Yep. And then the
Souhegan's
next
a good
year,
program, too.
we lost, I want to say, in the semifinals. And I think we made the playoffs every single year, I want to say, until 2010 or 11, maybe we didn't make it for the first time.
Yep. Okay.
We had, I think the first year we didn't make it was when they went to that weird, they went to a 4-conference system. And only two teams from each conference could make it. And our conference was crazy. It was like us, Souhegan, Trinity, and
Super
Wyndham,
strong.
all in the same conference. And somebody couldn't make it, and I think that first time it was us.
Yeah.
But, I go back to, I just can't forget to tell you this because it's so intriguing sometimes, the straight T stuff. Coach Margarita's father played for the Chicago Bears, played for George Halas.
Okay, George Halas.
And, he was like the NFL's leading rusher in like 46 and 47.
Right.
And he was like sought after as a coach to install the T because he was like one of the guys that knew the T. So on my kitchen table right now, I have boxes of all Hank's old playbooks and all his scouting reports from when he was at Georgetown and Boston College, first Boston College, and then coaching at BU. And when BU was a powerhouse. And all this stuff from the 50s, and you laugh because I always laugh. Like he used to say something to us all the time, and to John, like there's only so many ways you can move 11 people. And some of the stuff that people think that they invented now, they were doing 60 years ago. And I can't even tell you how many times I have stolen stuff from that stuff. To go in and play. And, one of my fondest ones was in 2005. We had to go up to play an undefeated Kennett in Gary Millen. And they had pretty much beat us pretty good the first game. We played them like 28-14, but it wasn't that close. And we needed a miracle to beat them in the playoffs. They were loaded. And Coach Margarita called me and says, Hank had this thing called the butterfly defense from back in, 49 to beat so-and-so. And I'm like, let's take a look at it. So we looked at it, and we married it and ran it. And we beat them in overtime.
Really?
14-7.
Wow.
And it was just good stuff, So I always go back to, one thing, like I say, is like, Coach Margarita has pretty much been my coaching lifeline, mentor, and sharing all these great things of and he's got the same love.
Isn't that interesting
love for
too,
beer
right?
as I do too.
Yeah.
So.
So there's that brotherhood there, right?
Yeah.
And guys willing to help other guys out with that type of stuff. That's I think it's a little bit unique to football because you don't necessarily have that in a baseball coaching brotherhood, or because there's just not complexity to it.
Football is not like any other sport. I always say, and I hate to say this because I love other sports. Like I have the utmost respect for soccer players. They're some of the best athletes in the world. Like it's amazing. But very rarely do you sit around the local pub and talk about the big soccer game. Back in the, you talk about the football game. You talk about those things, and it's that brotherhood and camaraderie that gets created. That's kind of never ending. I still every 3 months I still meet my 3 high school friends that I played football with, and we tell the same stories.
And you talk
they
about
get better and better. We get better and better as the stories go on.
It's like fishing stories, right? Fish always gets bigger, but that's good, and there's something to that, Coach, right? Because it's part of the like Coach Cameron had said, it's one of the things he actually missed quite a bit. Of course he was coaching back in the day when there's much more scouting in person than there is now with Huddle and everything else you got online,
and I always believed in that.
Like
I still believe in that. Like one of the things I hate, I love the Huddle. Because I like the film.
The instant access.
But the thing I hate about the Huddle is you see less and less people out scouting. And I always scouted every Saturday. I don't care. The group of us, my whole staff, we'd split up. We went. You got to see stuff in person. To really get a gauge.
You got to see what happens in between plays, right? You can pick up a lot by watching the kid go back
and
to
how
the
they
huddle.
act on the sideline. And one of the things I still do because
watching the coaching
Coach Margarita told me to is, at halftime I always stand by the gate of whoever's playing so they can walk by me. I want to see how big they really are as I'm standing next to them because they look different on film. And they look different from far away. So, but when I one of the times I always go back to I don't know if you ever heard the name before, but his name was Ricky Holt. Played for Portsmouth. Was an absolute stud. And I remember standing by the gate at Portsmouth, and this kid walked by me, and I'm like, we're in big trouble.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. I saw him on film. Now I know we're in big trouble.
Yeah, he is.
This kid's a monster.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's the thing, right? Because on film, you sometimes don't pick up on speed, quickness, and
But it's that camaraderie, though. Like, you know, Coach Sanborn and I talk about it all the time from Plymouth.
Yeah, Plymouth.
You know, some of our best memories are meeting up, scouting.
Yeah.
Even though we're rivals.
Yeah.
You know,
just talking.
You know, Robin Bauquet, one of my best friends, like going scouting together.
Yeah.
You know, even though we might be playing in a week.
Yeah.
You know, and getting together and building that, you know, those relationships.
Yeah.
You know, I always laugh because I tell you how we do, you know, we do our post-game cookout no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, Milford's how we can play each other. You know, we might not talk during the week.
Yeah.
But you bet he's at the cookout right after the game, whether he won or I won, and it's done. You know, I mean, we might be, you know, I don't like losing.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like we go get out of here. You know, it's that relationship. So what's the key? And they're lifelong.
Because you realize you're playing the long game.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lifestyle. It's a life thing. It's not just that game. Because you're coaching guys year to year too, and you're going against the same coaches though, but you recognize too that you got, you know, that 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th year grader. He's only got those 3 or 4 years. You've had 20 maybe, so it's a little different for him. So you still want to honor that.
Well, and it says a lot to the way we act. Like we want to instill that in our players. So like our kids see what we do and how we act. Yeah. I want them to leave with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I know my kids know how hard we work and how tight we are and how we're friendly with other people. They see it, you know, before the games. We don't act like that. I don't sit there and badmouth. Yeah. I mean, I've never been that guy like, oh, they don't. I hate these guys because of this. You know, I mean, you know, obviously you have your pregame speeches, and sometimes you'll say some things to fire somebody up, but like it's never like insanity.
No.
Like, you know, I always say to the kids the same thing. Every week we're gonna play like we're playing the best team in the country. You know, so every week we'll play like we're playing Notre Dame. I don't care who we're playing. We're going to
play
work
to our
hard.
standard.
Play to our standards. There's not going to be any riffraff. There's not going to be any swearing. There's
we're
not
going
to
take anybody lightly, because we've all been in those games that we lost, and we remember them forever, where we took it a little too lightly. And
there's just certain things I don't believe in, and I really feel lucky that I feel like I learned the right way. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, like we said, I could care less about the wins and the losses. I care about how these guys end up in life. And I would like to think that because of us, many of them turned out better than they would have. You know?
Because you never know, right, what's going to have a significant impact on a kid. It could be just a small comment you make, or it could be when you pull that kid aside and say, hey, you know what, you're kind of at a crossroads here, man. You got to make a decision. Are you going to be a good teammate or not? And I think you should, and I think you can, right? And you probably knew your players because you worked in the school too. You know the guys that are struggling at home, or the guys that are dealing with something. Their parents might have just got divorced, or whatever it is, right? And football might be their one place they still have that's secure, that they can just let it be free for a couple hours a night. You know, that's.
I think that's something that's kind of been lost in a way, and it's too bad because I wish it would come back. Is there isn't a lot of coaches that work inside the school anymore. You know, that was one of my biggest bonuses, was being in here every day. I knew what was going on. I knew those little things that I had to get ahead of. I knew who, you know,
you were having small conversations.
But I knew who I needed to figure out how I was going to feed them. You know what I mean? I knew who was struggling. I knew how to take care of those things.
Needed to pick me up.
And a guy that's not that just showing up for practice, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it and be successful.
All right, everybody. So we are now down on the field here, Coach and I, and the reason we came down was I wanted to show everybody this plaque here that they have, Milford High School. It says, "We, not me, Spartans," and it's at the very end of the football field. You can see there, we're behind the goalposts. And Coach, tell us a little bit about the history behind that and some of your other favorites.
It's been the motto since I got here that it has to be we. In order, and it's not just we the football program; it's we the community. You know, one of the things that we've always instilled in our kids was that in order to play for us, you got to be willing to give back. It's our moral obligation to leave our communities better than we found them.
Yeah, good.
So part of playing here is that we did a lot of volunteer work over the years for certain things, different things, and you got to be willing to be that guy.
Yeah,
and you got to believe in it.
Yep.
You know, I'll be honest with you, we haven't had many guys stick around that were
okay.
not me.
They knew, this
they just knew that it wasn't for them, and they would, we never cut anybody.
Yep.
But we had some kids cut themselves if they didn't want to be part of the program. You know? And one of my favorite examples, I was saying earlier, my favorite spot right there, about 5 yards into the end zone, we had a young man that played for us named Jacob Wilson, who was an autistic man that was our manager most of the time. But his senior year, he really wanted to play.
Yep.
And he came out and he put a helmet on and shoulder pads and practiced every day. And late in the year, we were playing Conval. And Conval guys were great. We had a special play that we had taught Jacob. 38 speed, the Jacob special.
Okay.
And we handed it off to him on a jet sweep. And he came around the edge and ran for about a 20-yard touchdown with an entourage of people in front of him. Congratulated by all in the end zone, Conval included.
Oh,
it was
that's
very well
awesome.
done. It
That's
was a
awesome,
great highlight,
those are good things, right? Because that reminds you that it's, again, much more than the game, right? It's about life. It's about experiences for these young guys. And
it's about community.
In the community,
I think that gets lost sometimes. Is, it's easy to be a superstar.
Yeah.
That's just talent.
Right.
It's tough to be a good person.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a lot of work.
Because you have a lot of decisions to make every day about being a good person. It's interesting because we often, with our kids, we're growing up, and I got 5 kids, and we used to always say to them before they were going out, do good and be good.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you're going to be all right in life.
We always made a point, one decision doesn't define you. I mean, we're going to make mistakes. We're human.
Yeah. Lord knows. Right.
It's what we do to. It's what we do to. To rectify.
What do we do after that?
What do we do after that? How do we get up?
How do we make it right? How do we commit to doing better, knowing that we're not going to be perfect in life because life happens.
I think that over the years we really instilled that in our kids. And like I said, I was very lucky. The group of guys I had with me. I mean, Rick Erta is second to none. As far as an educator goes, teaching kids the right way and having his own great kids, but teaching other kids just the right way to be, believing in the message. It was privilege. My nephew Adam, who's really only 8 years younger than me. My sister's old.
Okay.
I said that, Mary Ellen. You're old. He's only 8 years younger than me, and he's been with me for.
So he's like a younger brother almost.
He was really like my brother. But he's been with me for like 20 years. I told you earlier, Coach Martin's been here since 01. So it's been a tight-knit family that we all preach the same thing. And we all care about the same thing.
So they're all buying into what we're trying to accomplish, and we're all heading the same direction. And it's about tradition. And it's now. It's instilled, right?
A lot of the talk is always, don't say it if you don't believe it.
Right.
Don't just be that guy that says it.
Yeah. You got to walk the walk, not just talk it. So as you progressed on, though, now your son Harris played for you, and towards the end of your career. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? And I know there was a pretty almost very tragic accident early on in his life.
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple of things about how Harris impacted my career. Was the first one, the players will tell you that the best thing that ever happened to them was the day he was born, because they said I got soft. As soon as I became a dad, I got soft.
Have a couple more kids, Coach.
Jeff Mack, who played here in 03 and then went up to Plymouth State and broke every rushing record and just got into the Hall of Fame. He came back to practice one time, I want to say in like 07 or 08. And he just looks at me and goes, "What happened to you?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You are soft." He goes, "You had that baby, and you are now soft." I'm like, "Come on, man."
You're like, "No, I'm just changing with the times."
But it does change you. I mean, I will say that it changed me.
It does. It gives you a different perspective.
And then, unfortunately, like everybody's worst nightmare is, when Harris got hurt, and that accident when he was 3. That was life changing. Thankfully, through to these amazing doctors up at Dartmouth Hitchcock.
Yep.
And Chris Cook. It turned out way better than anybody could have ever expected.
Yeah.
We were just joking the other day because he was telling me he has better calf muscles than I am, because I always say I have big calf muscles.
Yeah.
And he was saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm not even supposed to have a calf muscle. Right. Because he was not supposed, his leg was so messed up. He wasn't even supposed to have a calf muscle.
Yeah.
And then somehow they told us he never would. And he's got muscles.
Yeah.
It's amazing what your body can do, the resiliency,
Yep.
And so, it ended up being, a great feeling for a dad after all those years of, all those operations and surgeries and different things, to have the opportunity to coach him.
Yeah.
It wasn't always the best.
No, yeah, I know, because I coached my son too.
Coach your kid, it's tough sometimes.
There was times when it was like talking to our head coach, like, hey, you got to do what you got to do, coach. I'm not standing in your way.
Yeah.
But it is a little different dynamic. But I tell my son Luke, I said, that was one of the best times in my life, those 2 years helping coach and seeing him play, being on the sidelines. There's just something different about that, and there's a special nature to that. But your son, though, that was how you got connected to Chad, right?
Yes.
So you were involved early on with the Chad football games.
Yeah, I got to coach the very first Chad game in 2012.
What exactly is that, so our listeners know?
So the Chad is the East-West all-star football game put
in New
on
Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, the best 80 athletes in football in New Hampshire, and they play against each other, usually at the end of June, to raise money for the Children's Hospital. And basically most of the money goes towards the part for family well-being at the hospital.
Because they're there for weeks on end, sometimes months.
Yeah, we lived there for 70 days. I lived in a hospital room with him for 70 days, and I got to tell you, those people go above and beyond. And what they did for us to take a horrific situation and make it bearable at times. And the things they did for us.
Because as a parent, you're not going to just go home every night, especially your kids as young as he was.
No, I lived in the room. My mother and my father and my wife lived at David's house down the street.
Yep. Okay.
So all these things, all this money that we raise for that, it's
great purpose.
It's a great purpose, and it's a great thing. And I always said that I'm kind of in debt to them. I'll do whatever they want.
Yep. Yeah. So you coached 3 times?
I was the head coach 3 times, and then assistant coach a bunch of times. And anything I can do to help. I've gone to speak, just different things. Anything we can do. Harris and I went down and spoke at practice this year to the West team before they played. So I think I said a lot more than he does. I tend to be a little more long-winded than he is. But, but it was nice. A culmination for us is that, I don't know if it was my final game. Like I said, I don't know if I'm retired or just taking a break.
Right.
But to have one more game to coach him.
Yep.
In the Chad game, and then have him score a touchdown, which is
cool.
He
did? Okay. Even
he
better.
had a scoop and score in the Chad game. And then one of my other players, Cade Cloutier, he had a scoop and score.
Okay.
So 2 Milford guys scored touchdowns in the Chad game.
So a great day all around.
And my other son, Caleb Francor, he got to play and made a couple nice tackles in the Chad game.
So how did you decide to resign? Like, was there a lot going on? Was it just worn out, need a break, want to change?
It was a couple things. I was tired.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I've been putting, and some will call me a baby, but I put a lot of effort into this for a long time.
Yeah.
And I have a 13-year-old.
Yep.
And I kind of felt like it was time for me to focus on being a better dad.
Being a better dad to him. Yeah.
And last year, I coached his 7th and 8th grade football team.
Okay.
So I didn't really coach. But I coached 7th and 8th grade football last year. I'll coach it again this year.
Yep.
He'll be an 8th grader.
Okay.
And then when he goes to be a 9th grader, I'll either try to hook back on.
If you're,
or I'll just be a dad.
Yeah.
Sit in the stands for 4 years.
Which would be interesting too, right?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, one of the great things about not coaching was I went around the state and watched some pretty good football.
Yeah.
I would pick a game each week and I would go.
Because there's usually a big game every week that's like, okay, I want to go see that.
And then I had a great kid that I met at Merrimack, a young kid that I went to the Merrimack home games, and I took him with me.
Yeah, all right.
And, we hung out together and watched football together. So
you're still doing stuff for kids, mentoring and doing all that.
Yeah, I can't give that stuff up.
That's just part of who you are, right? And I think that's a lot of coaches are like that deep down. They want to be around the young guys, helping them discover themselves a little bit more. and helping build them, imparting them some things that are going to help them in life, that skill sets. Because like you said, it's all those little things that you're just building blocks for being a better person, being a good citizen.
If I can
even
teach,
right down to like, hey, we're going to commit, we're going to give back to the community, we're going to be doing car washes or whatever it is, helping out. So
if I can
it's
teach
less about
any of them anything, the two major things is one, when you build a program, you're not building a program around an offense and a defense. You're building a program of what you're going to give back to the community. And then two, you're trying to build a family. You're trying to build a family because if you build it, they will come. You asked me earlier and we never got to answer it. I think the camera went off, but you were saying to me, like, how are the numbers over the years?
Yes, right.
And I just, one thing I learned from Coach Margarita was everything was fun with a purpose. Fun with a purpose. We're going to work hard. We're going to work really hard, but we're going to have fun.
It's still fun.
And we did some crazy stuff and we act a little wacky and some people, question
your sanity.
What are we doing? But I will say that, I told you, I think my first year, we ended up with almost 40 kids. My first year as the head coach, we had 60. And then we were right around 80.
Wow.
At this school, which is not big. For the next, we had 101 one year.
Wow.
And my philosophy was always, we're not going to cut anybody. We'll find a way to buy a helmet. That's why we got a booster club.
We'll get the uniforms.
We'll get it, and we did. And we never ever turned anybody away. And we built, we tried to build it so that everything was family orientated. We were very lucky for a school this size. We always had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. We ran 3 schedules. You got plenty of opportunities to play. And I will tell you that it declined a little bit.
Your feeder program.
Since COVID, it declined a little bit. Seems like everybody had that across the state. But I hate blaming stuff on COVID. I wish we'd all just get over that.
They're all, I'm with you there. And there are, like Coach Cameron said, it seems like most football coaches are fine with a 3-sport athlete and actually wish a lot more guys would do that. And now he said, with all the specialization, kids are being almost forced to commit one direction at a very young age.
I tell them.
And they don't even experience, like you said, you may not even like football your first year as a freshman, but give it a little while. And next thing you know, you're like, hey, I really like this. I like the camaraderie. I like this big team I'm on. I like being part of,
But how do you know? How do you know at 13 that I just want to be a baseball player? These people out there that are specializing and everything, I tell you what, when you see these guys on TV, when they put their highlights up for their profile, right? They were a 3-sport athlete. They were 3-time captain.
Majority of them.
Not many of them just said, I was just a baseball player. I always go back to Alex Rodriguez was an unbelievable tight end and an unbelievable basketball player. These guys.
People don't realize that, right? Even Michael Jordan played baseball and was pretty good and then played minor league baseball.
Ever watch Allen Iverson's not a great person, but ever watch Allen Iverson's football highlights? Like, it was unbelievable. So it's like these people that think you got to just do one thing. It's caught up in this money.
Because you build different skill sets, right? And you develop
all sports help you do different
well-rounded.
things. And it helps you compete.
That's interesting because maybe that's part of it, but it's still good though that you were able to still draw pretty high numbers for a smaller school, Division II.
We averaged around 800 kids most of the time I was here. Total. So 400 boys, and I always used to say, we're getting 20% of the boys to play football. I was pretty happy with that.
Okay, Coach. So as we wrap up today, and this has been a great, conversation. Talk a little bit about what would your advice be to a young guy maybe getting into his high school years, and then maybe a guy that wants to get into coaching, kind of like you did right after or during your college years, and then what about your legacy? If you think back and you think about, hey, your name comes up in a conversation, what do you hope people are saying about your coaching tenure here?
Well, young guys, I would say the most important thing is understand how fast it goes by, and once it's gone, it's gone. One of the conversations we had a lot with kids that would come and say, I don't think I'm going to play this year, and I'm like, why? Well, I have to pay for my car insurance. I have to do this. I have to do that. And kids now, you got the rest of your life to work, as we all find out eventually. But you can't get these years back, you know.
Yeah.
And once they're gone, you don't want to be that guy that sits.
Football's not one of those things you really can go play You can play touchdown on Thanksgiving Day in the park or whatever, but yeah, it's not
one of
the
my
same.
sayings to the kids all the time, they always laugh at me. I say, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day of the year.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
Don't be an ifs and buts guy, you know? I mean, over silly reasons. Now, you know, over the years, we've had kids that had to stop playing for certain reasons.
Injuries or whatever.
Or,
you know,
stuff or the right move, like, you know.
They're like paying the bills at home, helping out.
I mean, that happens.
Single
That's
mom,
part of life.
whatever that may be,
You know, but, you know, just, I always hate the excuse of, well, I'm just going to focus on basketball, or I'm just going to focus on baseball. It's like, you know, it's the worst thing you can do as a high school athlete. You know, be well-rounded. Enjoy yourself. Hang out with your friends. Be with your friends. Playing AAU isn't playing with your friends.
Right.
You know, it's playing with a bunch of guys that all paid to be there. And
because you go back to like the data tells us a very small percentage play at the college level, and even a smaller play at the any sort of professional semi-pro.
Yeah, people got to get that out of their head.
And
you know, I'm playing for a scholarship. Well,
and there's
you know, come on now, you got a better chance of getting a educational scholarship to Harvard than you do playing sports in college. You know, and then young coaches, I would say, you know, as one, like, you know, we all have these dreams about what we want to do, and once we come to the realization about what we can do, that's when we become good coaches, is recognizing what you have, and that I might want to do something.
Back to adaptability.
Adaptability, and just understanding that you got to put the kids in the right position to succeed. Not not how you're going to succeed. How are they going to succeed? Right. And sometimes you have to eat a little crow.
Yep.
You know, like it's not always glamorous. You know, we all want to throw the ball 40 times a game if the quarterback's 30 for 40.
Right. Right.
You know.
Right.
But
it doesn't work if he's 1 for 18.
If he's 1 for 18 and the clock stops every other play, and you just got beat by 60 and the game was 7 hours long. Kids don't want to play anymore. That's a tough beating.
That's a tough beating in front of their home crowd. And
I think recognizing that, you know, you got to do what's best to build a program. And then the other thing is understanding what you have to build in to make a program. You got to build in that.
I'm just going to get on this side of you because we can get a little better sun.
You got to build in that community service piece and that
family, the giving back piece,
the family atmosphere. And that goes with not just the players, but the coaches. I mean, I think that's one of the best ways we kept coaches around is by building it into a family-orientated system. You know, I didn't have wives screaming at their husbands because they were out too much, because they were part of it. You know, they were part of it. It wasn't just the guys.
It was truly family friendly, not just, oh, the guys are just spending too much time coaching all the time. It's like, no, the families are invited to events and things and getting them involved.
I'm sure they weren't happy about some of our scouting expeditions, but
Saturdays all day. Saturdays gone.
You mean that
nights.
3-hour game that turned into 7 hours?
Right.
But
right. Driving up to Plymouth.
That's the fun part. Yeah, you got to stop at Biederman's to get a Balboa.
Right, a Balboa. Yes. So legacy. I know this is sometimes hard, and you're not officially retired because you're still coaching, actually, middle school and stuff. But just from a general perspective, you know, what would you hope that people take away when they think about you and your time here at Milford? Because you did dedicate over 2 decades, Coach, and that's something to be proud of. And I hope you know, like I've told a lot of these coaches, you know, because they don't get a lot of appreciation at times for what they've really done changing lives of young kids. So I hope you know that. And I'm sure a lot of your players know that, and you hear from them, and you'll continue to hear from them late into your life, because they come and go and they cross paths, and you run into them at the supermarket or something. And so I hope you know that. But what would you hope that people would say or think?
I hope people just think that no matter what, we try to do best by their kids. Try to be an extension of their families and their parenting, and teach their kids the right message so that they would make better decisions late in life. And be good parents themselves someday, and maybe be good coaches themselves, and be good brothers and be good sisters. And, you know, believe it or not, I had a few young ladies that played for me over the years.
My daughter kicked for Merrimack Valley. She was a great soccer player too.
And, you know, I don't really care about legacy. It's not really my worry.
Okay.
You know, obviously not everybody's going to be happy with the job we did
Yeah.
all the time, and it was from the X's and O's standpoint.
Comes with it, yeah.
But I'd like to think that we treated everybody fairly. You know, obviously there's always been, there's always a few instances where, if somebody didn't like their position or their playing time. And, ultimately at the end of the day, we try to win. That's tough sometimes. But, I just like to think the legacy left behind is that my group, my staff, we did right by kids.
Yeah, good. Well, that's a pretty good legacy in my book because, at the end of the day, I think that's what we all hope for is people to reflect back and say, yeah, they did a good job with what they had for kids and how they handled them and how they treated them. But more importantly, like you said earlier, of like, how do those kids end up? And hopefully some of those things that you imparted in them by being their coach carries on into their life and they're a better citizen, they're a better father and all those things. Yeah. So, well, I really appreciate your time on this really hot day. Spending this time with me,
pleasure.
Coach.
I love talking about football. There's a lot more I probably could have said that I didn't. You're probably glad about that. But
it might be a little longer. We might have to do a part 2 though if you get back in the saddle at the high school
Anytime
level.
you get bored and you want to talk about obscure single wing plays or buck lateral
I might have
or
to
anything
see some
that's kind of neat.
The butterfly defense.
The butterfly defense. You talk about like mentoring and longevity. One of the things that Coach Margarita and I do every day. Is we're texting back and forth. We find obscure plays.
Oh, okay.
And we send them to each other, videos.
Yeah.
So one of the ones today was he was sending me the buck lateral.
Yep. Okay.
Out of the single wing from like the 1946 Michigan Wolverines.
Right. And you're like, look at this.
Oh, it's awesome. Some of the stuff's awesome. All the misdirection and spinning. They were just so talented.
Yeah, it was very choreographed,
so cool.
right?
Oh, so choreographed.
And really fun to watch, actually, on film. It's like so soothing to watch some of that stuff. It's like, it's just poetry in motion,
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate it. And you take care, and we'll be in touch, especially if you get back into coaching.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed our time here today. And if you did, definitely hit like, share, subscribe, all those good things. And if you want to keep watching some of these, definitely hit the subscribe and notifications so you get the latest videos that come out. I've really enjoyed my time here today with the coach and hope you did too. So take care, everybody. Pete Hansen Football signing off.